fantasy going into week 12, and we're going to be going over my top 5 picks for this week's NFL football and break down my thoughts on all these games set for week 12. Hopefully, going into week 12, we'll see some very interesting things going on. There's definitely the NFC East battle going on for the division leader there. There's some potential Super Bowl previews that we might get to see, and hopefully, we'll get to see some really good football coming this Thanksgiving. First, we're going to break down the first two games of Thursday, that being the Texans versus the Lions and Washington at Dallas. We'll see what goes on in Detroit as the Texans go into town, and we will see how Washington fares down in Jerry World. And with that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and cue that intro. Alrighty, guys, let's get right into it. Right now, we're going to be talking about the Lions versus the Texans. Notable injuries going in: Kenny Stills, Tunsil, Calamity, and Cobb are all out for the Texans, while Galladay, Swift, and Amendola will be out for the Lions. The Texans are coming off a win over New England, and the Lions are coming off a pretty bad shutdown loss from Carolina. Going into this week, I think I'm going to have to go with the Texans, because quite honestly, after last week's loss by the Lions, there's not a whole lot of upside that I could see coming out of Detroit. A lot of veteran players and a lot of good players in Detroit right now don't want to be there and are looking to make the splash in free agency. So we'll see how things play out. I'm gonna go ahead and take Houston in this game. I don't really see Detroit winning this. They can. They have a lot of good pieces, but after you get shut down by Carolina, who is uh, openly, actively rebuilding, you can't really justify losing by 0 in today's league. Getting shut out, I got to give props to Carolina on that. It's very, very hard to get a shutout win in this league, and they were able to do it against Detroit. Detroit has a lot of problems they have to fix within this week if they want to be competitive, and to be quite honest, if they pull out the win, I'll eat my hat. But to be quite honest, I see them dropping the ball once again and going over 2 this week and continuing the losing streak. So, for me, especially with the Vegas odds being where they are at minus 2.5 for the Texans, it seems really low to me. But at the same time, like I said before, the Lions are a competitive team. They do have good pieces. I think the loss in Week 11 is gonna hold them back quite a bit this game. So I think that's gonna be my take on the Texans, and we'll move on to the next team, which is Dallas at Washington this Thursday on Thanksgiving. Alrighty, with that, we're gonna be going on to Dallas versus Washington. This is gonna be a very hot division race game on Thanksgiving. We'll get to see some pretty decent football out of Washington and Dallas. Personally, not my favorites. I am a Giants fan, so I'm hoping that both teams end it with a tie. But for me, although Washington is favored by 2.5 points from Vegas, I think I'm gonna have to take Dallas in this game. I think they'll take it. I think they'll take it to overtime, and I think they'll get the W that way. Notable injuries: Everett, safety; Washington secondary. Well, it's not the greatest in the league. It does help manufacture sacks, and with Everett gone, I think it's going to be a big factor. And with Dallas not having any notable injuries going into next week, I think it'll definitely be a definitive game within the division. Things to watch. Dallas take the next man up in Washington secondary. Will they take advantage of that? I'm not hoping they will, but I'm also not hoping that Washington wins either. So hopefully, I hope both teams drop the ball and we end with a tie. Like I said before, I'm taking Dallas. I think Dallas has a lot more pieces right now than Washington does, and with an injury at quarterback coming from the week before in Washington, there's that. So Alex Smith will be starting. Alex Smith is a good quarterback, but he is coming back from a major injury that he has been gone for multiple years for. I think the fact that Washington is also going into Jerry World, which is a very hard place to play. Being a Giants fan, I know we haven't won a lot in Dallas. Neither has Washington. They've done it occasionally, not so much recently, but I think this is Dallas's game to lose. To be quite honest, Washington favored 2.5 points, so we'll see what happens. And hopefully we'll get a good Thanksgiving game, and hopefully it'll be very interesting. Alrighty, now getting to the highlight of the week, the Sunday night game, Giants versus Bengals, going into Week 12. Notable injuries: Joe Burrow will be gone, so will Joe Mixon, and wide receiver Mike Thomas. Not the notable Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints, but all the same, a valuable piece to be missing in a very, very important game. Not so much for the Bengals anymore, as they are, I believe, last in their division, but an important game for the Giants, as we are sitting atop the number 2 seat in our division. And with the Eagles' loss this week in Week 11, we're hoping to capitalize and move forward and take that number 1 spot, and hopefully move up one step closer to taking over this division and this division race, which is basically tied at this point, as every team except for the Eagles got a win last Sunday in Week 11. Notable injuries for the Giants. Thankfully, we didn't injure anyone in Week 10, and going to the bye week, we have had some COVID issues that hopefully will have resolved by next week. But if anything happens, I'll probably post about it on Twitter or retweet what was posted on Twitter. Returning though, coming week 12, we are getting McKinney back and O'Shane Zimenez, which will help us fill out that outside linebacker spot, which has been very, very thin this entire season. With McKinney coming back, I am hoping to see him have an immediate impact. I think he'll have, being that he's coming back from injury, I think he'll be eased into the system, and I think he'll have a big difference in the pass rush, surprisingly. And to be honest, things to watch. Well, obviously I said it. Will returning players for the Giants have an impact on the game, and will the Bengals fall in the season and just kind of collapse? Personally, I'm going to take the Giants, who are favored by 4 points this week, and I think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be 42-10, and I think the Giants will walk away with the win, and it'll be helping us to hopefully get a playoff spot. Alrighty, now that we're done with the Giants, let's move on to this week's network game of the week and potential Super Bowl preview, which will be the Bucks versus the Chiefs going into Week 12. The Chiefs have some notable injuries. Obviously, Watkins is out again. Byron Pringles is out, I believe, with a concussion this week, and Ali Marpet is gone, so that's going to be a missing piece for Tom Brady's line. Things to watch this week. Obviously, missing pieces on the offensive line this week have an immediate impact as to how Tom Brady plays. I don't really think it'll have that big of a difference, but I think it'll make enough of a difference for Kansas City to pull out the win. And obviously, can Kansas City's pass rush take advantage? The defense is, usually slow to start. We saw it last season. They were kind of slow at the beginning of the season, and once Week 8 hit, immediate turnaround. I think with this game, I think it'll be a really close one. I think it's an easy take, 35-38. I think Patrick Mahomes will give us a nice fourth quarter drive to take the game and set up the game-winning field goal. I think the biggest thing for this thing, Kansas City favored by -3. Obviously, statistically, looking at the stats from ESPN and PFF, Kansas City outperforms the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ever so slightly by not too much, but enough that you could see them winning. Kansas City allows fewer points than Tampa Bay and scores more. So, with those two factors combined, as well as the great pieces they have, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Not to say that Tampa Bay doesn't have great pieces. Obviously, they've got Tom Brady, Roethlisberger, Mike Evans. Great defensive set, but I think it'll be Kansas City in this game. Yeah, if you take a look at the screen, there's a lot of them. Obviously, the thing to watch for this game is how will injuries affect both squads going into Monday, and will the depth be the deciding factor in this game? My pick for the week is the Seahawks because, F the Eagles. They're favored by 6 points in Vegas. Shocker. The Eagles, been doing terrible this season. They're about to give the division away to whatever team could take it at this point. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries going on. Offensive line, wide receivers out, backup quarterbacks hurt, which is kind of insane to think that the backup would get hurt before the starter. But it is what it is. Um, you know, Looking at stats, Seahawks blow the Eagles out of the water. This is probably not even going to be a contest. Obviously, safe bet's going to be the Seahawks. I don't really see the Seahawks losing this game. Honestly, it's their game to lose. If they decide that they want to give the Eagles a win, they're going to give the Eagles a win. But I don't really see that happening. As a Giants fan, I'm hoping the Eagles lose because they really don't deserve the division at this point. The games that they've lost have been god awful, and they've actually tied a game this season with the Bengals. And the Bengals aren't a good team. I'm kind of tired of hearing everyone talk about how the Eagles are probably one of the greatest teams in the NFC East right now. They won a Super Bowl and they haven't really done much after. To be quite honest, I don't see the Eagles having any way of pulling this off. And yeah, I agree with Vegas. Being from Vegas, being in Vegas,